Welcome to Beyond the Lab, a series by the Office of Career Development within the Biomedical Research, Education, and Training Department of the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. My name is Kate Stewart, and I'm here today with Dr. Josh Nickols. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So you graduated in 2003 with a PhD in neuroscience. So
That's right.
We're glad to have you. Tell us what you did while you were at Vanderbilt.
Great. Well, I came here for the PhD program in neuroscience.
Okay.
I ended up graduating in 2003. My work was looking at the molecular reasons that nerves, particularly nerves of the peripheral nervous system, myelinate. So there are Schwann cells that are responsible for wrapping those nerves and protecting them and facilitating fast conduction. And I looked at some of the molecular mechanisms as to why those Schwann cells behaved in the way they did.
Okay, so after that, what did you do after that?
After that, so I did a postdoctoral fellowship with a PI here at Vanderbilt by the name of Pat Levitt,
Okay.
working on the development of the central nervous system. During that time, and then during my time in my PhD, I really became interested in translational ideas. Like a lot of students here, I had an interest in taking some of the ideas that I had developed inside of the laboratory and seeing if they couldn't be practically employed in the therapeutic space or in healthcare. And what I did following my PhD and postdoc was I enrolled at the business school here at Vanderbilt, completed an MBA, and then started working in industry after I completed my education.
Okay, so what do you do now? Tell me about your current role.
So my current role is as CEO and president of a company called Invision.
Okay.
Technology was actually licensed from Vanderbilt back in 2013, and we've developed a very small form factor 12-lead electrocardiogram. And what we've done with that is be able to change the way that you can offer patients a fundamental diagnostic tool in the care of patients who either have acute or chronic heart disease. And we have packaged it in such a way that it can be used in their home, in a skilled nursing facility, in a hospital that may not have them for one reason or another, and made it so that we have an environment where from a technician or a home health worker working alongside that patient, they can communicate that information back to a physician inside of a hospital.
Okay, great. So there have been many things along your career road that you've had to pick up and learn. What are some of the things that maybe you wish you knew in your PhD training that you know now that maybe current students would want to know?
I think it's easy as a student to undervalue your training in some ways. And as I looked out into industry and being in the business world, there were points where I said, well, I'll really probably never use that education that I gained during my graduate time. And that has been far from the truth. Everything that I've learned, either the process of taking an idea from an idea all the way to a first prototype and then ultimately commercialization, that process and that diligence that you go through as a PhD student may not have the same facts and the same subject matter, but is still a process that's valuable to have learned. And second, the things that I learned in genetics, the things that I've learned in biochemistry, those have been critically important at different points in my career between different companies, and certainly been a differentiator for me in being able to help that company.
Okay, so if we have a ton of students who want to be entrepreneurs and have great ideas. What are some of the things that they can do now as trainees that would really help them along in that interest?
I say get started with a really good company, people who are willing to help you learn, not just give you mundane tasks inside of the company, but an opportunity where you can actually see how the business runs. And there are good companies here in town where students who are interested can take a day a week or maybe just a few hours in a day per week and see the inside, see what it's about, learn a little bit, in my case or in the case of healthcare and life sciences, how the regulatory process works, how science is applied in industry.
Okay, and so you did receive your MBA from Owen. Tell me about your sort of your thought process of, the MBA is the right move for me. How did you come to that decision, and what are some of the differences between that training versus your PhD training?
Yeah, so I don't know that the MBA is necessarily right for everybody. I had a lot of questions about how the business world worked and why companies would go public, how companies would take money and turn that money into an idea and ultimately a therapeutic or diagnostic. And the MBA helped me understand better how the business world and the industry of healthcare worked. There are a lot of opportunities that don't require an MBA. Certainly, you can go into industry and start working from, again, the healthcare side in a scientific capacity, working in regulatory affairs. I think there's a lot of roles that are available to graduates that are coming out of Vanderbilt.
Okay, so receiving your MBA, being in that business school world versus being in your PhD world, what were some of the curriculum differences, or just the atmosphere, the environment?
So PhD is largely a self-directed effort.
Right.
You've got an idea and a hypothesis that you're working on and trying to prove, or at least discover why this particular phenomena is true. And the business school experience is very much the opposite. You're working together in teams, and you're trying to figure out how, when you have a team that comes together, that initially can work and oftentimes does work dysfunctionally, how do you get that team to work in a manner that is productive toward a common goal? And that's really hard. That's a different set of skills that you get out of the MBA program, and it isn't a natural set of skills. Working together in teams can be really challenging, and that's really what they try to teach.
Okay, so in your role, you are a CEO of a company. You have to do a ton of networking, I'm sure. What does that look like for you? What are some of the strategies that, even for you reaching out, and then as well as people reaching out to you?
So my networking opportunities come by way of really just my business and the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, from working with board members who have, again, a common interest in seeing our company grow, raising money, and learning from people who I get to work with closely here in town as investor partners, working with groups, companies, and universities that may license technologies. I've gotten to know a lot of people just through those activities. There are good organizations, Life Sciences Tennessee, there's a graduate school chapter here, and these are all really good places to begin to start building your network of contacts in the community and healthcare.
Okay. I'm sure you get contacted a lot by current trainees or even people that want to imitate you. What are some of the things that, the ways that you like to be contacted, or things that you wish they knew about, networking and communicating with others?
Yeah, when you reach out to a company and look for, say, an internship or, a first job, it's really a matter of just kind of luck and timing. Sure. We have over the years taken on interns and taken on new employees who have approached us and said, this is my interest, this is what I want to do. So I guess my piece of advice would be persistent. Don't become disappointed if somebody says or doesn't even follow up, because it has more to do about timing for a company as to whether or not they have the capacity to take on somebody and help them learn within the company.
Okay, that's great. So you have a unique set of skills that make you great in your role. What are those things that make you enjoy your role as well as make you a good fit for what you do now?
I think, again, going back to what I said before, the process that you learn as a graduate student in the PhD program is immensely helpful, because there are going to be long stretches of time with your company or with an idea where things don't seem to progress. And the same is true with a hypothesis or a thesis in the graduate school. And being able to be persistent and continue pushing that idea forward has been, a really helpful experience having done that in graduate school, and I think is true for a lot of graduate students as well.
Okay. As an entrepreneur, as a CEO, what is your work-life balance like with your family and sort of your hours that you work?
It's busy. Being an entrepreneur is, I met my wife here at Vanderbilt, and we have 2 children. And so, like everybody else, I get home and I make dinner and make sure everybody takes a bath and gets to bed. And like a lot of people, my work day doesn't end after 5 o'clock. More often than not, I'm going back to my computer, answering emails, finishing up things that hadn't been done. Sometimes it's spending nights out talking to potential investors and having an understanding spouse really helps a great deal with that.
Yeah.
I think, what's exciting about being an entrepreneur is that, every day is different. You have every day is a different discussion with a company about a partnership. The next day may be fundraising. The next day after that might be project management, where you're thinking through some critical aspect of a technology that you're developing. That's really exciting. And being an entrepreneur, I think one of the things that is underappreciated about entrepreneurs is an opportunity to learn. You are, by definition, going out into the market and learning how to make a product that will work in the market that addresses a real problem, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming back. We
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.